Welcome back to the county seat. We have been doing a year-end wrap-up. We've been picking the most discussed topics at a county level as far as county level government and concerns and problems. We're going to finish this episode by talking about forest management, its impact on Utah's counties, in particular bark beetle. This has significantly changed forestry in the state of Utah, has it not, Brent?
It has. It's a huge problem. People probably recognize it if they've driven out through Flaming Gorge area or out in those Fish Lake area, and they've seen the forest, which appear to be dying. The trees, the pine trees, seem to be dying, and that's the result of bark beetle. And there's just hundreds of thousands of acres being affected by it. And unfortunately, the courts have consistently prevented the federal government and others from trying to manage that problem. So it now has grown to the point where I think even those who have in the past supported hands-off policies, realizing that if something isn't done, we risk the loss of our entire forest.
Do you think we run the risk of denuding the state of marketable timber or forest lands?
Well, there's not much marketable timber out there anymore because, again, the restrictions won't allow it. But still, just for the environmental benefit of having them, if you don't manage them, yeah, I think there's a significant risk to the forest as a whole. We even had the experience 3 or 4 years ago with national leaders from Nature Conservancy, which is one of the environmental groups, indicating that some kind of forest management needed to take place. So our organization opened a dialogue with our local Nature Conservancy groups here about how we could work together with them in trying to address some of this. So I think there's a pretty widespread recognition that it's a problem.
People go, that's not a big issue to me. The guys in Beaver County, they should worry about it, but not me. What's your answer to that?
Well, my answer to that would be, you're right. We have limited lands like that in Utah County. However, as citizens, we travel all through this state, and we enjoy, the pristine mountain lands, and land management affects all of us. It's not necessarily just specific to one county, it's throughout the state. And from an association standpoint, I think that's the big issue, is that how we manage that throughout the state. I would like to say, though, in connection with that, and that is the danger for wildland fires and this undergrowth when it's not properly managed. The carbon footprint, evidently, that comes off of a forest fire. Now, we've been fortunate in the state of Utah because we haven't had huge fires like they've had down in Arizona and California, but the potential is there, and it's because of the mismanaged lands and the undergrowth that is there that has that potential for those wildland fires that create such a carbon emission in our atmosphere.
Without some kind of management, I think we risk something far greater than just a corrective fire here and there. I think we risk the health of our forests in the state.
As the blight started to work its way through the Utah forests, if we've gotten right on it and taken the timbers out that were infected and removed the blighted, wouldn't there have been some marketable timber in all of that?
Most likely. And I think that's, again, where reasonableness comes into the management of the forest, and that would say, yeah, if we manage this with practices that make sense, we preserve not only the forest, but we benefit the state as a whole and the country as a whole.
Well, we've run out of our time for the half hour. I'd just like to ask each of you, with an eye on the future, what do you see are important issues for the next year?
Well, we've talked a couple. Clearly, the jail issue is a major issue for members of our association to try and find some funding source that can be more reliable. We have a new Supreme Court case that has been handed down dealing with the indigent costs and resources available to indigent people who are being tried that counties may have to fund. That's another huge issue. We have ongoing issues with RS 2477 roads. We're trying to find a model that might work in Iron County to resolve those without going through litigation. And then, of course, the state's filed its notice of claim on 19,000 roads, so that's going to be a big case.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts from you, Robert?
Well, I do. I think a couple of the big issues that we've talked about in the past, obviously public lands issues are going to be ongoing. Access to public lands is another thing with wilderness access restrictions. That has a big impact on our communities and our recreation and the things that we really enjoy here as citizens of this state. And again, the oil and gas thing, I think going forward, that'll have a huge impact on our state. And I'm looking forward to hopefully a little change in policy in our administration on a federal level that will hopefully allow us better access to both of those areas.
Well, we will get the ball off and rolling next week on the county seat. We'll start our season by addressing the issue of wilderness, and we will bring you a special half-hour program that defines what wilderness really is, the impacts it has on the counties, and we'll look for you to join us for that particular program. I think you'll find it interesting no matter what side of the issue you lie on. Thanks for joining us for this year-end wrap-up of the county seat. We'll see you next Sunday morning right here on ABC4.